Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to today's session, Themes in Indian History, Part 3, Lecture 6 out of 6, okay? Hello Ganesh Babu, hi. Okay, so Part 3, Lecture 6 out of 6, which also means that today is the last lecture in our NCERT series. We have started this NCERT history series all the way from class 6 textbook, and now we have reached the 12th standard textbook, final textbook, final chapter. Okay, so today ends the NCERT history series. Tomorrow onwards, I am going back to current affairs. There will be multiple sessions on MCQs based on current affairs. Okay, so I will announce the portions etc. At the end of today's class. So please be ready. Okay. So without any further ado, let's begin this session. But as usual, let me just inform you. At 5:30, we have the Unacademy app quiz and the topic is Modern India. Alright, 5:30 p.m. the app quiz. The quiz will be conducted using the Unacademy learning app. Please download the app and be ready by 5:30 p.m. Okay, I expect to finish the theory portions around that time. Okay, so continuing, Unacademy is India's, before we start the theory portion, let me just talk to you about Unacademy. Unacademy is India's largest learning platform, which offers you a wide variety of contents, starting with daily live classes where you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, etc., etc. Live tests and quizzes, which will help you to evaluate your own preparation and be better placed in an examination hall. Structured courses. The entire syllabus for the particular examination will be covered by Unacademy educators. And finally, unlimited access to all the Unacademy contents based on your subscription. Okay, so in order to get all these things, first thing to do is download Unacademy learning app. You can download this app from Google Play app or App Store and start a subscription. Okay, so before that, let me introduce myself. I am Madhav Sankar R Warrier. This is my Telegram channel, which you can follow in order to get my class notes, PDFs, etc., etc. Today's notes also I will be uploading in this channel at the end of the class. Also, you can follow me in my Unacademy channel as shown here. If you do that, whenever I schedule a class in the Unacademy platform, you will get notified. Okay, so please do look into this. So Unacademy brings you the top educators from all over the country and you can use their expertise on your own preparations. Okay, so the basic UPSC CSE package of Unacademy looks like this. It has all the basic contents such as polity, history, current affairs, etc., etc. Also, optional courses are available. Okay, some of the optional courses at UPSC may not be easily available in your locality, but Unacademy solves that issue also. We have almost all the optional contents in the UPSC syllabus. Also, the basic subscription of Unacademy is known as Plus subscription. Okay, so everything that I have so far mentioned is included in the Plus subscription. So it is provided to you in varying time scales, starting from 1 month all the way to 3 years. A typical 1-year subscription will cost you 49,500. But if you use my code MSRW1, you can get 10% discount and has to pay only 44,550. Okay. Also, any subscription that is equal to or above 6 months in time, you can pay the fees using no cost EMI facility. Okay, so this is about the Plus subscription. The other one is Iconic. Iconic is tailor-made for UPSC aspirants and it is also provided to you in 3 varying timelines starting from 1 year all the way to 3 years. Here a 1-year subscription will cost you 69,500. Again, 10% discount applicable if you use my code MSRW1 and you have to pay only 62,550 for 1 year. Okay, so here what are the benefits of Iconic over the Plus package? You will get everything that is in the Plus package and also over and above that, you will also get a personal coach or a personal trainer or a personal mentor. A 1-to-1 session with educator. Okay, then daily mains answer writing practice, study planner, personalized feedback sessions, etc., etc. These are the benefits of Iconic subscription. Last but not the least, regarding optional subscriptions, these are the available plan. Okay, so a 1-year subscription will cost you 27,500. Here also 10% discount applicable on using my code MSRW1. Please note that in order to unlock free contents at Unacademy, you have to use an educator code. Okay, you do not have to pay anything, but you have to use an educator code, and you can use my code there also. Okay, unlocking the free contents at Unacademy. Use the code MSRW1. Okay, so these are regarding subscriptions. If you have any queries regarding this, you can ask me. I will help you through it. Now, regarding the Unacademy combat that has been happening, the first session of this has been completed on the previous Sunday, but the next one will happen on December 20th, 2020, 11 AM, same format. I hope you all know about this already. This is an all India level quiz competition, 45 minutes, 60 questions, 6 sessions. Okay, so be ready for the December 20 event. The first place will get Apple MacBook Air, second place will get Apple iPad mini, third will get Apple AirPod, and the top 100 rankers will be getting 1000 rupees Amazon vouchers each. Okay, so be ready and grab your prizes on December 20th. So that is basically it regarding Unacademy. You can check out my Unacademy channel by entering this URL in the address box. And most of my lessons are actually free there also. So please do take a look into that. Remember, you have to use my code to unlock these things. Okay, MSRW1. Okay, so that is regarding the introduction. Now let's begin the class. Themes in Indian History, Part 3, Lecture 6 out of 6. Before we begin, let me just tell you, I will look into the comments. Okay, I will look into your queries only at the end of each slides. I will not look in between. So if you have any doubts, you can post it there, but please be patient. I will look into it at the end of each slide. Okay. So last lecture of the NCERT series. Theme 15, Framing the Constitution, the Beginning of New Era. Okay. So I think most of you already got an idea of what we are studying today. We are looking into the post-independent India, especially the time period around 1946 to 1950 till the day Constitution came into force. Okay, our Indian Constitution came into force on 26th January 1950. Okay, and this Constitution is also known as the longest written Constitution in the world. Alright, I think you already know why our Constitution came into force on 26th January. Does anybody know why this happened? Why this date was chosen? It was chosen to commemorate another famous event that happened 20 years ago. That is, in the Lahore session of Indian National Congress in 1929, the Purna Swaraj resolution was passed. I think you know this, right? The Purna Swaraj resolution. Jawaharlal Nehru was presiding over this session, the Lahore session. So in this session, the Congress, Indian National Congress, decided to celebrate India's Independence Day on January 26, 1930. Okay, January 26, 1930. So in order to commemorate this date, January 26 was chosen as the date for India becoming a republic. Alright, that is the only reason why republic has been delayed by 2 months. The constitution was completed by 26th November 1949. Okay, our constitution makers completed the final draft of the constitution by 26th November 1949, and some of its parts actually came into effect from that day itself. But India became a republic and the constitution was completely enforced only from January 26th, 1950 because of the said reasons. Okay, so one of the infamous adjectives of our constitution is that it is very long. Okay, extremely long constitution, full of legal terms and all. Okay, so many people actually criticize Indian constitution because of its length. I mean, British constitution is nothing compared to Indian constitution in terms of length. Okay, so why this much length? Most of the constitutional experts say that we are a very diverse country. We have a lot of ethnicities. We have many languages. We have different cultures, etc., etc. And in order to arrive at a unity within this diversity, we have to have that much details in the constitution. Okay, we cannot simply go by very random and very vague statements. We have to go into specific aspects so that we will not miss anyone out. Fine, this is an inclusive constitution. Everybody is accepted. Now let's begin our session. A very brief introduction. Independence. India achieved independence in 1947, August 15. I think you remember this from previous classes. And during the time of independence, India was extremely divided, deeply divided. Complete lack of Hindu-Muslim unity. There were immense riots. There mass killings happened all over the country. Very bad time overall. Okay, so the Indian Constitution was also designed around this time. Okay, Indian Constitution, the work on Indian Constitution began in 1946 December. Okay, 1946 December. This is when Indian Constitution, the writing of Indian Constitution was started. Alright, so when the Constitution makers sat down and started writing this Constitution, they had to take in account what was going in the other parts of the country. They have to see all these riots. They have to understand why these riots are happening. They have to make sure that Indian Constitution is capable of keeping the country together. I mean, if you write some constitution and at the end India, secedes into different states, then it is pointless, right? So any outcome of this constitutional committee or constituent assembly should be such that the final constitution will keep India as one nation. That was the ideology. That was one of their major challenges. Also, constitution was supposed to heal the wounds of the past and present. Correct, right? There were many mishaps during the national movement and even before that. There was no equality in the society. Certain sections were oppressed. Women were not given enough rights. So all these things, the wounds of the past as well as present, has to be healed. Now, a new democratic institution has to be nurtured in India. Until now, India is a colonial power. Before the arrival of British, India was ruled by dynasties, kingdoms, monarchies, oligarchies. There was no democracy as such. At least in the modern sense, democracy was not there in India until this particular moment of time. So it was up to this Constituent Assembly to make sure that this constitution will enable or will nurture a democratic society in India. Democracy is something new. People are not, people do not know what this democracy is in a practical sense. Okay, until then, all people knew about democracy was in theoretical sense. It is there somewhere else, then some of the readers will explain its benefits, etc., etc. But nobody knew it firsthand. Fine. So this was another challenge. So basically, this Constituent Assembly had to look into a very, a long list or assortment of events before finally concluding the Constitution. Hence, this took a very long time. Okay, it didn't happen overnight. It took about 3 years. It took about 3 years. To be precise, it took 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days. Okay, Indian Constitution was drafted or completed in a very lengthy amount of time. That is 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. And within this span of time, the assembly held 11 sessions and sat for 165 days. Okay, although the entire time length is 2 years, 11 months, 18 days, assembly sat for 165 days. So what were they doing in the other days? Were they sitting idle? No, right? They were actually sitting in various committees and subcommittees. For example, the Constituent Assembly had various subcommittees, the Drafting Committee, the Union Powers Committee, okay, the Language Committee, etc., etc. Various subcommittees were formed for looking into specific aspects. So during the other days, the members were supposed to gather in these committees and debate and discuss on the possibilities. Fine. So this is the very brief introduction of our Constituent Assembly or how the Constitution was made. Now let's see each of these in detail. Alright, first of all, the circumstance under which the Constituent Assembly sat. That is very important because the outcome also depended on the circumstance it sat. It was a very tumultuous time, basically. The years preceding the making of the constitution, it was a very tumultuous years. Starting from the 1942 Quit India movement, Subhash Chandra Bose forming the Indian National Army and attacking with the help of Japanese in the northeastern India. Correct. So similarly, we saw the Royal Indian Navy mutiny in 1946. We saw the Direct Action Day, which was pronounced by Muslim League again in 1946. Okay, so basically these years were completely tumultuous. But everybody was looking forward for independence. So it was also a time of hope. Okay, everybody was looking forward for the Independence Day. But unfortunately, India's independence came with heavy prices. The nation, the subcontinent of India, was divided into India and Pakistan. Two nations came up finally during our independence. So India was free but was divided. The two major leading political parties, the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League, repeatedly failed to arrive at any settlement that would bring religious reconciliation and social harmony. Also correct. No, none of these parties or even the British were able to put a stop to the violence and massacre that was going on in India. They failed to put a stop to these riots. Okay, I mean the leaders were more interested in the partition of the partition affairs, how the map should be, which all provinces should go to which country, etc., etc. Okay, so in ground zero, riots were happening, innocent people were being killed. Okay, I think I explained all these points in yesterday's class regarding the partition of India. Anyway, we saw the great Calcutta killings of August 1946. Millions of refugees were on the move. Muslims into the East and West Pakistan, and Hindus and Sikhs into West Bengal and eastern half of Punjab. So, from Pakistani territory, non-Muslims were coming to India, and from India's territory, Muslims were going to Pakistan, East and West Pakistan. Okay, so problem of princely states. So in one scenario, these migrations were happening, but in another context, in another picture, we had the problem of princely states. Okay, I mean I already told you, Cabinet Mission came up with a proposal to divide India into three: Section A, Section B, and Section C. Okay, A being the Hindu states, B is the northwestern area, that is the Pakistan area, and C being the eastern Muslim domination area, that is modern day Bangladesh. Alright, but within India itself, we had the problem of princely states. Princely states thought that after independence, they will regain their monarchical powers and will be able to continually rule these states. But International Congress and the national movement parties did not want this to happen. They did not want pockets in India having monarchy rule. They did not want kingdoms in India anymore. They wanted all of India to be under a central authority with a democratically elected government. Okay, so there was the problem of princely states. You had to discuss with them, and you have to make sure that these princely states also ascend the India's democratically elected government. So constitutional status of these princes remained ambiguous. What to do with these princes? Princes were actually claiming the throne, claiming the power, etc., etc. But it is not possible in that democratic country. Okay, so what should be done? British did not give any clear-cut answer to this, and both these sides were not ready to grant any power to each other. So this was another issue which persisted. Moving on. Making of the Constituent Assembly. So I gave you a very brief background about the scenario in which all these things were happening. Now let's see the making of Constituent Assembly itself. Okay, so the members of Constituent Assembly were not elected on the basis of universal franchise. Okay, the members were not elected. Constituent Assembly was not elected based on universal adult suffrage, which means it is not a democratically elected assembly. Okay, so in 1945-46 period, there were provincial elections happening all over the country. Indian National Congress managed to secure a huge democracy, a huge domination or huge support from India, and it emerged as the single major party. Okay, so the provincial legislatures which emerged as a result of these provincial elections, then chose the representatives to the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so the members of Constituent Assembly were not directly elected by the people of India, but it was elected by provincial legislatures after the provincial elections in 1945 and 46. So what is the problem here? The problem here is these provincial legislatures were dominated by Indian National Congress. This was the one single party which was dominating at that time, which also means Constituent Assembly was also composed about 80% by Indian National Congress members. Clear? So this is considered as a drawback. I mean, in a sense it is good because there will be some kind of collectivity and quorum. Problem is we have the lack of diversity in the Constituent Assembly. But even then we have to accept the fact that the other 20% were able to bring enough discussion and debate in each of these aspects, and to some extent put a stop to this the defects of this majority. Alright, so the Muslim League, the second party which secured a lot of seats was Muslim League. I told you, right, after the 1945-46 elections, Muslim League had the confidence to demand Pakistan because they won about 80% of the Muslim seats. Okay, I mean 80% of the Muslim votes in these elections. They won all the seats which was reserved for Muslims in the Muslim electorates. So all these boosted their confidence and they demanded Pakistan. So they boycotted Constituent Assembly because Constituent Assembly was set up together for one nation only. Okay, there was no separate assembly for Pakistan and separate assembly for India. It was only one single assembly. So Muslim League boycotted it altogether. The socialists, they too were initially unwilling to join. They too did not want to join. Why? Because the socialists thought that Constituent Assembly was creation of Britain. Remember, this Constituent Assembly was created in December 1946. This was the first sitting was in December 1946, and British is still ruling India. Although the provincial government or the government of India at that time was majority of Indian members, Viceroy and the Commander-in-Chief was still British. Okay, so the socialists thought that Constituent Assembly was actually a creation of British and it is not an indigenous idea, and therefore they believed that it is incapable of being autonomous. They thought that British will intervene in this Constituent Assembly as and when they liked. So they also initially were reluctant to join the Constituent Assembly. Okay, but we have to understand that these fears were alleviated. The national leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru, etc. were able to convince the people that British is not going to interfere anymore and British is going to leave India very soon. Okay, but even though the Constituent Assembly was dominated by the Indian National Congress, you have to understand that the Congress itself had many divisions. Okay, the Congress had members from the South, members from East India, North India, etc., etc. Some of the Congress members were Muslim. Some of them were pro-Hindu. Some of them wanted landlordism to continue. Some of them preferred, complete, consolidation of lands, etc., etc. So huge differences and diversity within the INC members itself. So all these actually brought a lot of debate and discussion in the Constituent Assembly. So please do not think that because it was a one-party domination, Constituent Assembly took decisions very quickly. It is not correct. Adequate amount of discussions and debates were conducted by the Assembly before fixing anything else. Okay, it is not like modern day parliament where somebody starts some kind of commotion, somebody will walk out and the other will simply pass the bill. It is not like that. Constituent Assembly made sure that each and every aspect is well discussed and well debated before it was passed. Okay, so there were criticisms, there were counter criticisms. Alright, so eventually all these added to the flavor of the Indian Constitution. Sometimes even the public was consulted. Okay, the public was also asked to send their views whenever it was needed. So it was an all-inclusive assembly. Clear, everybody's opinion was valued and it was taken into consideration with proper discussion. You can see a photograph here. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is seen sitting here. This is basically the Constituent Assembly which happened in 1946-47 period. Alright, moving on. The dominant voices. So the Constituent Assembly had 300 members. Okay, 300 members. But not all these members were equally dominant. There were some people who were actually dominating this assembly. For example, Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, etc. etc. There were 6 people in total. The first 3 are from Indian National Congress, that is Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad. The other 3 are from other sections such as B.R. Ambedkar, B.N. Rao and S.N. Mukherjee. These are the important people that we have to see. Okay, Ambedkar, also K.M. Munshi and Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. We will look into them one by one. So Nehru was the person who moved the very famous Objectives Resolution. What is Objectives Resolution? Objectives Resolution gives the objective of the Constitution. Okay, I mean, what is the underlying principle of this Constitution? Okay, what are we going to expect from the Constitution? Okay, what will be the outcome of the Constituent Assembly? All these, the objectives were framed by Jawaharlal Nehru. The very famous, the very historic Objectives Resolution. Okay, also Nehru was the person who proposed the national flag of India to be a horizontal tricolor of saffron, white and dark green in equal proportion with a wheel in navy blue at the center. So Jawaharlal Nehru's main contributions to the Constituent Assembly was the Objectives Resolution and Indian national flag. Alright, now Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Vallabhbhai Patel was actually, not in the forefront. Okay, he was not there in the assembly debating and anything. Mostly his work were done in the background. He was a man behind the scenes. Alright, he played important roles in drafting various reports and at the same time working to reconcile opposing points of view. He is known as the Iron Man of India. I mean, the most important contribution of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel to India is during the reorganization of states. I mean, not reorganization of states, bringing all the princely states to the Indian nation. Okay, I mean, I told you, many princely states were not ready to join India, but it was Vallabhbhai Patel who made them join India through various methods. Some through peaceful discussions. In some areas, actually, the police action has to be taken. In some areas, military were sent in to make sure that it is joining India. We will study that later, but for now understand that Vallabhbhai Patel also had a very prominent role to play in the Constituent Assembly. Third, Rajendra Prasad. Rajendra Prasad is the person who was the President of Assembly. I think all of you know this. He also became the first President of India, but during the time of Constituent Assembly, he was the President of the Assembly. Alright, so it was his duty to steer the discussion along constructive lines. It was his duty to make sure all members had a chance to speak, etc. etc. Just like our speaker today. It is a duty of the speaker to make sure that the assembly is working correctly. It is his duty to make sure that everybody gets a chance or a proportionate chance to speak, so and so. So these were the functions of Rajendra Prasad. Alright. Now, B.R. Ambedkar. I don't think I have to say anything about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He is one person who is credited with, he was considered as the father of Indian Constitution. Ambedkar was the chairman of drafting committee of Indian Constitution. Okay, there were 7 people in the drafting committee. Please do look into their names. 3 of them are very important. Number 1, B.R. Ambedkar, who is also the father of Constitution. Then K.M. Munshi, another experienced person from Gujarat. And then Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer from Madras. These 3 played very important roles in drafting of Indian Constitution. Okay, but they had to have support from other people also. I mean, you cannot expect 7 people to completely, draft the Indian Constitution. They need some data, some information, etc., etc., right? So, some other people were also engaged in the making of Constitution. For example, B.N. Rao. Okay, B.N. Rao is the constitutional advisor to the government of India. He is a person who is very well known, who has very good knowledge about the constitution of various countries. Okay, a very well versed person as far as polity is concerned. So his expertise was used in making the Indian constitution more and more attractive. Clear? So B.N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor to the government of India, and he prepared a series of background papers based on a close study of political systems in other countries. Okay, so B.N. Rao, don't forget. Finally, Chief Draughtsman S.N. Mukherjee. So he is the person who had the ability to put complex proposals in clear legal language. I mean, you cannot expect all the people present in the Constituent Assembly to know law and order. No, I mean they may not know the legal systems or the IPC or CRPC or any of these things. Okay, so it is this person S.N. Mukherjee who actually collected their proposals, etc., and put it in a legal fashion. All right, even now we have secretaries, etc., to do this. Not every MLA that we elect or not every MP that we elect has an LLB degree. Okay, so you need some people who can convert the common man's language into legal language. It was done by the draftsman S.N. Mukherjee. Okay, so these were the important people in drafting Indian Constitution. Good evening, Ramkumar. Moving on, the vision of the Constitution. So now we have a basic understanding about the circumstance in which Constitution was drafted. We know about the Constituent Assembly and its composition. We looked into the important people who played key roles in the Constituent Assembly. Now we are going to see what is the vision of the Constitution. I already told you, Jawaharlal Nehru on December 13, 1946 passed the historic Objectives Resolution. And this resolution outlined the defining ideals of Constitution of Independent India. Okay, and it is this resolution which provided the framework within which the work of Constitution was to be proceeded. Okay, so this is the framework. This is the skeleton. You can rework the Constitution around this skeleton. Clear? So it was Jawaharlal Nehru who introduced this Objectives Resolution, which was passed by the Assembly. So the basic idea of this Constitution, of this resolution, was independent, sovereign Republic India. Okay, India was to be a independent, sovereign republic. Remember, the word secular doesn't appear here. Okay, secular was added very late on 1976 through the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Until then, the word secular is not there in the Indian Constitution. Okay, so independent, sovereign republic, which guaranteed the citizens justice, equality, freedom, and assured that adequate safeguards shall be provided for minorities, backward and tribal areas, and depressed and other backward classes. See this is from the Objectives Resolution. It is covering everybody. Okay, the Objectives Resolution does not miss out any sections of the Indian society. Minorities are well covered, the backward and tribal areas, depressed and oppressed sections of the Indian society. The Constitution is for entirety of India. It is not for any particular section. It is not for the elites or the ruling class or the landlords. It is for the people of India. Clear? So Nehru, referring to the American and French revolutions, was trying to locate the history of Constitution making in India within a longer history of the struggle for liberty and freedom. So basically, Jawaharlal Nehru understood that Indian Constitution has to be a document that should have a place in India's history. Correct? So India's history until then also has to be taken into account. The national movement of India did not simply happen as an anti-British movement. Okay, I mean, yes, we have to send away the British and gain independence. That was definitely the prime concern, but national movement also had many other aspects. Okay, it was a movement which was fought for lower sections of the society. It was a movement which was fought for measures against untouchability. It also fought for upliftment of women. So such many other ideals are also present in Indian historical national movement. So these ideals also should reflect in the Constitution. Clear? So all these things were considered before writing the actual Constitution. Nehru stressed that the ideals and provisions of the Constitution introduced in India could not just be derived from somewhere else. So he not only looked into India's Constitution, India's history, he also looked into certain other inspiring happenings around the world. For example, American Revolution, French Revolution. French Revolution is from where we got the term, the phrase liberty, equality, fraternity. American Revolution is famous for another slogan, which goes on to say that no taxation without representation. Okay, so these are very inspiring ideals. These are something that we would like to incorporate in our own constitution. But at the same time, we have to make sure that our constitution is not merely a copy of someone else's constitution. There has to be indigenous ideas there. Our constitution is the Constitution of India. So it should be an Indian document, should not be copied from here and there. All these were kept in mind while drafting the constitution. So the objective of Indian constitution would be to fuse the liberal ideas of democracy with the social ideas of economic justice. Okay, and readapt and rework all these ideas within Indian context. Okay, so we are looking into democracy, economic justice, socialistic principles, and we are trying to adapt all these things into the Indian context. Clear? So basically, Nehru's plea was for creative thinking about the what is appropriate for India. Okay, rather than going mundane, rather than copying from here and there, we have to be creative and we have to make it an Indian constitution. That was the prime concern of Jawaharlal Nehru. Fine. Now let's see the will of people. So we are going to look into certain instances, certain discussions, certain debates that happened in the Constituent Assembly. Okay. So a communist member in the Constituent Assembly named as Somnath Lahiri. Okay. Somnath Lahiri saw the dark hands of British imperialism hanging over the deliberations of Constituent Assembly. I told you at the beginning. Correct. This assembly began its activities in 1946 December. British were still in India. Correct. So he thought that the government of India is still under the control of Viceroy, and because of that, British will have a say in the Indian Constitution. Okay. So Somnath Lahiri brought this concern in the Constituent Assembly. Alright. So he thought that the administration headed by Nehru was in place, but it could be operating under the directions of Viceroy and the government of London. So the Constituent Assembly was expected to express the aspirations of those who had participated in the independence for India. So basically, Nehru assured the Constituent Assembly that such a thing is not happening, and Indian Constituent Assembly was an assembly which was functioning as per the aspirations of Indian people only, as per the aspirations of the leaders of Indian national movement only, and Britishers had nothing to do with this. Okay, he reassured the Constituent Assembly of the same. Clear? The national movement against a government that was seen as an oppressive and illegitimate was inevitably a struggle for democracy and justice, for citizens' equality and rights. Basically, the national movement, which was anti-British in its essence, also tried to achieve fundamental rights, justice and democracy for Indian people. So all these ideals were reflected in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so we have to have a brief idea about how Britishers were granting India more and more autonomy. Clear? The Indian national movement was so much able to put pressure into the British government that Britishers had to, in time, grant some sort of concessions to India each and every time they, made some changes in the, method of administration. For example, all the way from 1909, the famous Minto-Morley reforms. Then came 1919 Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Then again in 1935, the Government of India Act was passed. During all these acts, the participation of Indians in the administrative process was expanded. More and more Indian members were added into various legislative and executive councils. Basically, the administration was being more and more Indianized. Alright, so we have to understand that even then, the problem was all these acts, 1909, 1919, 1935, all these were passed by British only. Okay, no Indian was considered, or no Indian was, a part of the panel which formulated any of these acts. These were basically written by British and they enacted this. They said we had to obey, that's all. Okay, so this was one major drawback until 1935's Act. But now, the Constituent Assembly is entirely Indian. Britishers has no say in our making. But also we have to understand that the assembly which was indirectly elected by the provincial legislatures. Okay, these provincial legislatures were also elected by the people, but here there was no universal adult franchise. I told you, right? Constituent Assembly was indirectly elected by provincial legislatures. These provincial legislatures, which was elected in 1945-1946 period, was also actually elected by the people directly, democratically, but the franchisee was only 10% of population. Only 10% of Indian population had the right to vote. Okay, because of the various eligibility criteria that was set by Britain at that time. Fine. So that is also another primary concern. Now, defining rights. Hello Jenny, welcome. It's okay. We can you can join today. Also today at 5:30 we have the quiz. Okay. So defining the rights. So in the Constitution we have to look into a lot of aspects. Okay, we have to look into rights. We have to look into how we are going to take care of scheduled classes, tribals, minorities, etc., etc. So lots and lots of concerns are there. Now we are going to see one by one. Okay, we are going to look at what kind of discussions and debates happened in the Indian Constituent Assembly. Fine. So the prime concern was about the rights of individual citizens. Oppressed groups to have any special rights. This was another question. Should the oppressed groups be given any additional consideration? Should they be given some kind of special rights? What about the rights of minorities? Who in fact could be defined as a minority? Okay, I mean, we can give some special rights to minorities, but who is a minority? That was another question. Okay, so all these were discussed and deliberated in the Constituent Assembly. You have to understand that there was no collectively shared answers to any of these questions. Constituent Assembly itself was very diverse. Although it was dominated by Indian National Congress, even the congressmen was not arriving at any common conclusions. There was debates between them also. Okay, so we see a huge number of debates and discussions before arriving at any particular conclusion. Clear? So the answers were basically arrived through clash of opinions and drama of individual encounters. In the inaugural speech, Nehru actually invoked the will of people and declared that the makers of the constitution has to fulfill the passions that lie in the hearts of the masses. This was the introductory speech of our Constituent Assembly. And Nehru actually said this: our constitution should be deriving from the will of the people. We have to look into the passion that lie in the hearts of the people. That should be the final base or context from which we should evolve this constitution. Fine. So the different groups expressed their own ideas in different ways and made different demands. We are going to see each of them. The problem of separate electorates. This is number one. Separate electorates. Okay, so on 27th of August 1947, you do not have to study the date as such, but just understand this. Okay, 27th of August 1947, a person known as B. Pokar Bahadur from Madras. Okay, he was a representative from Madras. So he proposed that we should continue separate electorates. I mean, until then, separate electorates were there as a part of various acts by Britain. Separate electorates for Muslims, separate electorates for depressed classes, etc., etc. So he said that we have to continue these separate electorates because the needs of Muslims cannot be understood by other sections. Okay, needs for Muslims cannot be understood by non-Muslim people. That is what Bahadur felt. Alright, he also said that a true representative of Muslim cannot be chosen by people who do not belong to that community. Okay, if a Muslim candidate is contesting an election, then he should be chosen by Muslims only, because a non-Muslim cannot truly identify with the tenets of Islam. Clear? So these were the arguments put forward by B. Pokar Bahadur, who was a representative from Madras, who was arguing for continuation of separate electorates. Problem was that most of the nationalists were against this idea. Already separate electorates for the depressed classes were taken away in the Pune Pact back in 1930s. So as far as Muslims are concerned, it was continuing. But the nationalist leaders thought that this should not continue. Okay, they saw the separate electorates as the plan of Britain to divide India. It was actually a plan of Britain to divide India, the separate electorates. It was brought in 1909, remember that. Okay, after the partition of Bengal, Britain played the divide and rule card. And the separate electorate was a part of this card. So the nationalist leaders said that this is not possible. We should not play the same game that British played, and it will divide our country. Okay, so they said that separate electorates will poison was a poison that has entered the body of politics of our country, and it should be removed. Okay, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel said this very famous quote in the Constituent Assembly. Another person, Govind Vallabh Pant. Okay, he declared that it was not only harmful for the nation, but also for the minorities. Okay, it is not only harmful for the nation, but also for the minorities. Why? Because if the separate electorates continue, what will happen? This division will be existing forever. Okay, and the majority will not care about minorities. That divide is there. So it will be up to the minorities to care about them. Majority will, vote for their candidate and look after their own business. And this division will never cease to operate. So Govinda Vallabh said that this will harm both sections if it continues. Okay, majority will not understand, will not get a chance to understand the problems faced by the minorities and will not be able to empathize with them. Okay, so based on these discussions, it was decided that the constitution would grant to citizens the rights, but citizens had to offer their loyalty to the state. Communities could be recognized as cultural entities and assured cultural rights. Politically, however, members of all communities had to act as equal of one state, or else there would be division. Okay, I mean, it was okay to continue various communities and their cultures and their religious practices and all, etc. But at the same time, although religiously there are many kinds of divisions in India, it is important that politically all of them arrive at some kind of equal base. Irrespective of the caste, irrespective of the community, politically all of them should be Indians rather than Hindus or Muslims or Sikhs or whatever. Okay, so you have to understand that although a particular person, Pokhar Bahadur, introduced this idea of continuing with these separate electorates, a lot of Muslims were not in support of this. For example, Begum Aziaz Rasul. Begum Aziaz Rasul also thought that continuing separate electorates will not be for anybody's wellness. She said that it is going to be a cause that will continue to divide India. Also, after I told you, this process of making constitution was almost about 3 years. Started in December 1946 and was continued up till November 1949. Took a lot of time. Okay, so by the end of this period, many who actually supported these separate electorates also changed their mind and came back to having no separate electorates. That also happened. We see that many of the nationalist leaders have a change in their mind and they supported the common cause. Fine, that such instances are also there. Sir, who was the mastermind of partition of Bengal? Okay, so partition of Bengal was basically masterminded by Lord Curzon. Okay, British Governor General who was ruling in India at that time, Lord Curzon, he was the person who masterminded the partition of Bengal. Because he understood, the reason he set for partition of Bengal was for administrative convenience. Okay, he said that it is for administrative convenience because Bengal was the largest province in India at that time. So it cannot be ruled altogether as such. So we can divide it into two and it will be easier to administrate. But the idea was basically to divide Hindus and Muslims. Eastern Bengal is dominated by Muslims. So giving them a separate state will dislodge the unity between Hindus and Muslims. That was the idea. Moving on. We will need more than this resolution. So another person, N.G. Ranga, a socialist who had been a leader of the peasant movement, urged that the term minorities be interpreted in economic terms. Okay, so this was another argument that arose. So who are these minorities? Okay, that was the question. How should we define minorities? Should minorities be defined based on the number? Should they be defined based on their social position? Should they be defined based on economic terms? This was another question. Okay, so he actually welcomed the legal rights of the constitution and was granting to each individual, but pointed to its limits. So he welcomed these legal rights. For Article 14, 15, 16, all these are for everybody. So Ranga actually liked this. But he said that still we have some issues. We have to clearly define who these minorities are and who will get these benefits, special benefits. Okay, so it was essential to create conditions where these constitutionally enshrined rights could be effectively enjoyed. For this, they needed protection. They need props, they need a ladder. Okay, you are giving these rights to everybody. That is true. That is fine. Article 15, Article 14 are all for all Indian citizens. That is correct. But you have to make sure that there are conditions in which these things can actually happen. Correct? I mean, simply writing this down in a book and allowing landlordism to continue will not, matter much. I mean, will not actually give us the intended result. Correct, right? Allowing, writing this all down in a book and still continuing with the practice of untouchability. That is again a paradox. So he said that I am welcoming all these rights, but at the same time, we have to create a situation, a condition in which the people can actually enjoy these rights. Fine. Similarly, another group of people that were targeted were the tribes. But problem is, tribal people were not numerical minority. There were plenty of tribal people. I mean, in number, they were never a minority. Okay, but they too needed protection. Why? Because when agriculture expanded in India, lots of forest land were cut down and taken for agricultural land. So when forests were cut down, tribals lost their livelihood. They were forced to evacuate from that area and move to somewhere else. They had to face many oppressions and repressions. Okay, so even though numerically tribals are not minority, it is still required to take care of them and or to look at them as a minority because of their sufferings and because of their conditions at that time. Okay, so we do not know how to define a minority basically. Other than Curzon, it is hard to say. Okay, I mean, we can say that, for example, when partition of Bengal happened in 1905, right then after 1 year, that is in 1906, Muslim League was formed. Okay, when Muslim League came to substance, some of the Muslim leaders, for example, the Nawab of Dhaka, okay, and so there were certain prominent leaders who supported this separate Muslim body, okay, and they supported this partition of Bengal. Clear? So some Indian elements, especially in the ruling classes, supported the partition of Bengal. But you have to understand that this idea, this division between Muslims and Hindus were brought in by Britain. They were developing this idea for a very long time. Even back remember in the 1857 revolt, there was complete unity between Hindus and Muslims. Even the Hindus accepted Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar as the leader of this 1857 revolt. Okay, so there was complete unity. Britishers understood that this unity is a threat. And since then, every policy that they made were in such a fashion that it will divide India on the basis of religion. Okay, there are many instances that happened which eventually culminated in partition of Bengal. Okay, and when partition of Bengal was annulled back in 1911, what happened? Many Muslims were actually unhappy with this. Okay, so annulment of partition of Bengal actually divided the Indian society even more in a sense. Okay, moving on. We were suppressed for thousands of years. So, how were the rights of depressed classes to be defined in the constitution? That was another question. We looked into minorities. Now we have to see the depressed classes. Depressed classes actually form a huge section in the population, but unfortunately their social status is very low. Okay, so how to deal with them? That is the next question. During the time of national movement, Ambedkar had demanded separate electorates for these depressed classes. You know about this. Correct? During the communal award of Ramsay MacDonald and all, Ambedkar was also favorable for granting separate electorates for depressed classes. But Mahatma Gandhi was not, did not like this idea, and he talked with Ambedkar, and eventually they signed the Pune Pact, which cancelled the separate electorates but granted reservation for the depressed classes. Okay, so you know that story. So Ambedkar was a person who is the chairman of drafting committee of constitution. Okay, so here he did not emphasize on separate electorate. Okay, Ambedkar, although initially was a propagator of this separate electorates theory for depressed classes, he did not argue the same in the Constituent Assembly. He changed his opinion. He did not want separate electorates now, except that he wanted some certain safeguards. We will look into that very soon. First thing is to remove untouchability. Okay, the most important thing to do initially is to remove the concept of untouchability. And lots of people, especially the now called Dalits, okay, they were many sections of them were actually considered as untouchables. So Indian Constitution should have a facility, a feature by which untouchability can be removed. That is the most important thing as far as depressed classes were concerned. A person known as Nagappa, who was a representative in the Constituent Assembly, he said that numerically depressed classes were not in minority because 20 to 25% of the total population of India was depressed classes. Remember, 20 to 25% of Indian population. That means about 1/4 of Indian population was depressed classes. So numerically, they are never a minority. But unfortunately, due to the traditional and early existing practices, they were having a very poor social status and hence should be given adequate safeguards to develop themselves and be a part of India. Correct? So the suffering was due to the systematic marginalization. Even during the time of medieval India, or say during the time of other princely states, etc., they were marginalized. Correct? They were actually considered as lower sections of the society. They were supposed to work for the upper sections of the society. This was the mindset. Okay, so this should be changed. They have no access to education. They have no share in the administration. All these need to change. This idea was put forward by Nagappa. Okay, so after the partition, Ambedkar too no longer argued for separate electorates. The partition was a very bloody affair. I already told you. Lots of innocent people died in that. Massacres occurred. So Ambedkar also did not like the idea of separate electorates because it was the separate electorates which actually divided Hindus and Muslims forever. Okay, so Ambedkar did not want the same to happen in between the depressed classes and the other sections of Indian society. So he did not argue for separate electorates. Finally, Constituent Assembly recommended that untouchability be abolished. You can read the fundamental rights, one of the articles. I hope you know the number. You have to study all the articles, important articles given in your Lakshmikant textbook. Okay, especially the fundamental rights from Article 14 till 35. Make sure you know everything. Okay, Article 14 to 35. Read the original constitution if you want. Fine. So untouchability has to be abolished. Hindu temples be thrown open to all castes. Okay, irrespective of caste, Hindu temples should be thrown open to all Hindus. Seats in legislatures and jobs in government to be reserved for the lower sections. Okay, many recognize that this could not solve all problems because of social discrimination. So even though all these are tabulated in the constitution, many in the Constituent Assembly knew that this is not enough. We have written down all these things, but in the ground reality, in the practical side, we have to make sure adequate conditions are prevailing in order for this to be implemented. It is not easy to change the mindset of the people now. It's true. Look at even in modern India, look at the previous year. Okay, we saw what happened with Ayodhya, we saw what happened with Shabarimala. Okay, so it is not easy to change the mindset of the people if it is like that for a very long time. People won't adapt to it. Okay, it is a common feature of any population. They are always resistant towards anything new. When computers came to India, there were a section of people in India who were against computers, against novelty, introduction of computers. Okay, various arguments are there, on both sides. But you have to understand that normally, in any country, in any part of the world, people will obviously resist any change. Okay, so the people in the Constituent Assembly also understood this fact, and they wanted to make sure that proactive steps are taken to implement all these things. Okay, continuing. The powers of the state. Okay, so this is the next question. We looked into minorities, we looked into depressed classes, we looked into separate electorates. Now we are going to look at the powers of the state. This was another issue. Okay, how to divide powers between center and state. This was another important question. Very important question. So, respective rights of central government and the states. This was a very important question. Jawaharlal Nehru, who was one of the prominent personality at that time, he said that we should have a strong center. Okay, I will read his words as such. Okay, now that partition is a settled fact, it would be injurious to the interest of the country to provide for a weak central authority which would be incapable of ensuring peace, of coordinating vital matters of common concern, and of speaking effectively for the whole country in the international sphere. This is what Nehru said in the Constituent Assembly. I mean, he sent a letter to the President of the Constituent Assembly and he wrote all these things. In a way, it is correct, right? I mean, partition has happened anyway. So, there is a Pakistan there. Now, if India do not have a strong center, what will happen? The states has not joined India. I mean, princely states are still warring against the central government. They are not supporting the Constituent Assembly. So, all in all, what will happen? If India do not have a strong center, India also will disintegrate. India will not last for maybe for a long time. It will definitely disintegrate. So, we need a central authority which can keep India intact, which can coordinate all the matters. Okay, riots are going on. People are being indiscriminately killed. Okay, there is a requirement of a central powerful authority to stop all these things. Also, to place India in the international scenario, we need a strong center. That is also correct, right? Internationally, when other countries look at India, if they see India as a entirely divided country, India will not have that much legality or validity in the international sphere. In order to gain that respect, India needs to present itself as a strong single nation. So these were the arguments of Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, so based on these arguments, the Constituent Assembly finally came up with 3 lists: Union list, state list, and the concurrent list. In the Union list, the central government will make the rules. In the state list, it is up to the states, and in the concurrent list, both can make the rules. But in case of an argument, the center will prevail. That was the idea. Problem was that which subjects will go to what? That was the issue. Okay, for example, initially education was put in state list, but later in 1976 it was changed to concurrent list. Okay, so forest for another example. Similarly, certain taxes. You have to be very careful in which of these lists you put what. Defense, foreign affairs, etc. can be put in the union list. That is fine. Nobody will argue. But education, health, sanitation, where will you put all these things? This is a very relevant question. This was another feature of debate and discussion. Then, Article 356. You know about Article 356. What is it? President's rule. Or also sometimes it is known as state emergency. Okay, whereby center can directly take control of the state if the governor reports based on the recommendation of the governor. So this is considered as an encroachment into the power of the state. That is also the reason why Indian constitution or the federalism in India is considered as a quasi-federal nature with unitary bias. Okay, Indian system is considered as a quasi-federal system with unitary bias. Okay, which means we have a very strong center. Although we try to give as much powers to the states as possible, still the alignment is towards center. Clear? Also, look at the fiscal system. Complex system of fiscal federalism or fiscal devolution. Lots and lots of taxes are collected by the central government, and then it is devolved to the states. States can collect some taxes as well, but it is only very small, very few amount of tax. So this is another headache. If states can collect only a few amount of taxes, what will happen? They will not be able to implement public utility works, etc., etc. They will not be able to implement any major activities which will promote the overall well-being of the society. So even if the center is collecting all these taxes, center should devolve these taxes adequately to the states. Okay, that is why we have the Finance Commission. Finance Commission was added in Article 280 of Indian Constitution in order to make sure that there is correct fiscal federalism in India. So the President will constitute this Finance Commission, and it is the duty of this commission to look into how fiscal federalism is being conducted. You have to study about this commission in detail. Please read from Lakshmikant sir's textbook. Okay. Hi Supriya, welcome. Moving on. The center is likely to break. So basically, certain people did not like the idea that center is going to be very powerful. They wanted states to have adequate say also. One such person was K. Santana. K. Santanam from Madras, he argued that if center was overburdened with responsibilities, it could not function effectively. This is also correct. In a sense, it is correct. If center is given all the important subjects, what does that mean? It means center has to take care of all these things. Correct? Center has to take care of all these things. So it is basically overburdened. You will need a huge machinery at the center to take care of these things. Also, India is a land of diversity. There is huge regional variations. One size fits all policy cannot be implemented in India. Okay, one size fits all means what? You cannot implement one policy throughout India expecting the same results. Because people in South India is different from people in North India, who is different from people in West India, who is different from people in the East India. We have to make sure that there is specific set of design for each of these sections. Okay, so it was argued by K. Santanam. So as for the states, Santanam felt that the proposed allocation of powers would cripple them. This is what I told you earlier. There is not enough money coming to the states for the states to start any adequate human development projects. This could cripple states. This could weaken the states. This was another issue. Many others from the provinces also echoed the same fears. They fought hard for fewer items to be put in the concurrent and union list. So most of the members wanted majority of the subjects to be put in state list. Okay, so these arguments were also happening in the Constituent Assembly. Now, what we want today is a strong government. So basically around this time, these discussions were going on. So Ambedkar declared that he wanted a strong and united center, much stronger than the center we had created under Government of India Act of 1935. Okay, Nehru also had the same opinion. Now Ambedkar, the father of Indian Constitution, he also has come up with the same, same declaration. Strong center. He said the center should be even more stronger than what was proposed in the 1935 Government of India Act. Okay, he reminded the members that the riots are going on, violence are going on, all these are actually ripping apart the nation. Okay, he said that only a powerful center can stop this communal frenzy. Muslims were killing Hindus, Hindus were killing Muslims. All these were going on in India at that time. Remember, partition of India was a very bloody affair. Okay, so Ambedkar believed that only a very strong, powerful center can actually stop this communal frenzy. Another important personality in Constituent Assembly, Gopalaswamy Iyengar, he declared that the center should be made as strong as possible. Okay, it is one thing for a particular person in Constituent Assembly to say something, but it is quite another for a major person to say something. Even look at India today. Okay, look at India's current parliament. If some MP from some state say something, it is one thing. But if say Narendra Modi or say Amit Shah, somebody like that says something, it is quite different. Both of them are MPs, but one person is way more influential than the other one. Okay, so in Constituent Assembly also we had these powerful people such as Ambedkar, Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Jawaharlal Nehru, etc., etc. So when they come up with these kinds of strong statements, it has much more effect in the assembly. Okay, so before the partition, Congress had agreed to grant considerable autonomy to the provinces. That is true. You have to remember this. Congress changed their stand in the Constituent Assembly. Before the partition of India happened, Congress agreed that considerable autonomy will be given to provinces. This was actually a part of the agreement between Congress and Muslim League. Muslim League was assured by Congress that they will have autonomy in their provinces. Okay, but after the partition, this idea or this proposal lost its relevance. Why? What happened? Because now Muslim League has taken their territories into a new nation as such. Now we have Pakistan. Okay, so there is nothing to share or nothing to be given to Muslim League at all. So there is no relevance for this argument, no relevance for this proposition. So after the partition, most nationalists changed their position because they felt that the earlier political pressures for the decentralized structure were not longer there. Earlier they were promising this autonomy to Muslim dominated states in order to make sure that India is not divided. They were trying to prevent the partition of India. But now the partition has happened anyway. So there is no cause for them to provide these proposals anymore. Okay, so the International Congress and most of the nationalist leaders changed their stance and they all now wanted more powerful center. Okay, now the language of the nation. Alright, so now the powerful center is there. Now we have to see the language of the nation. Another huge mess which happens even now. Okay, remember what happened last year when Amit Shah brought in this, Hindi as compulsory or something like that. There were huge uproar from other states, especially from South India and Eastern India. You have heard about this, right? You might have read about it in the news and all. So same thing happened in Constituent Assembly also. Okay, so now let's ask some questions ourselves. Some of the main questions were, how could the nation be forged when people in different regions spoke different languages, each associated with its own cultural heritage? This is a significant question. How can we forge a unified nation when people in different parts of the country are speaking different languages and, which is part of their own heritage? So there is no, binding force in terms of language. That is number one. How could people listen to each other or connect with each other if they do not know each other's language? Another issue. Okay, say I do not know a particular language. Say I am from Kerala. Okay, I am not that much familiar with Hindi. So if I go to North India, how will I converse with people who do not know Malayalam? We need some kind of language which is common to everybody, right? And at this moment, it is English. English is the language which most people rely on during the 1950s. Problem is that English is an alien language. It is not a native Indian language. So there is a factor of pride also. There is a factor of Indianization also. Okay, that is one of the reasons why Hindi has been put forward as the unifying language. Hindi is, many leaders supported the idea that Hindi should become the national language. But there is equally valid, opponent theory also, which, which says that Hindi should not be made the national language. There are valid arguments in that side as well. We will look into all this. Okay, very important topic even for current affairs. So make sure you study them very well. Fine. So the language issue was debated over many months and often generated intense arguments. Okay, from the initial point of constitution making itself, that is in December 1946 onwards, we have this issue. The issue of language was constantly debated from the beginning of making, and this was resolved only at the very end. Okay, for about 3 years, this issue persisted. In 1930s, Congress has accepted that Hindustani ought to be the national language. What is Hindustani? Hindustani is not Hindi. Okay, Hindustani is a mixture of Hindi and Urdu. Okay, Hindustani, a mixture of Hindi and Urdu, was actually one of the most popular languages in India at that time. Majority of the people knew this language. So Congress in 1930s had accepted that Hindustani will become the national language of India. Mahatma Gandhi also felt the same thing. He thought that everyone should speak in a language that common people could easily understand. So rather than going with Hindi or rather than going with Urdu or any other language, Hindustani would be a very good alternative. Everybody accepted that in 1930s. Okay, so this multicultural language, Mahatma Gandhi thought that this multicultural language will become a force that can actually unify Hindus and Muslims. Hindi is more related to Hindus. Okay, a lot of Sanskritization in that. The Urdu is related to Muslims because lots of derivations from Persian language. Okay, so Mahatma Gandhi thought that if we go with Hindustani, which has language, which has a proper balance of both Hindi and Urdu, then it could actually bring in some sort of Hindu-Muslim unity in this country. So he envisioned this. All right, but it did not happen, obviously. The communal events between Hindus and Muslims further rifted apart both these religions and eventually led to partition. Okay, so as communal conflicts started to deepen, Hindi and Urdu also started growing apart. Okay, Hindustani language started dying down and Hindi became even more Sanskritized. Okay, Sanskritized means even more Hinduized in a way. Similarly, Urdu became increasingly Persianized, which means more and more towards the Islamic side. Okay, so these languages drifted apart and Hindustani is not anymore a viable option. we have to go for an alternate language. So in Pakistan, Pakistan is actually not a secular state. It is a religious state which follows Islam. According to Pakistan's constitution itself, it is there. Pakistan is an Islamic state. But India is not a Hindu state. India is a secular state. Alright, that is very important. That word is very, very important and very relevant also. It is part of our basic structure. So make sure to look into that. The 1976 amendment, 42nd Constitution Amendment. Study that in detail. So the plea for Hindi. Okay, so some of the nationalists actually wanted Hindi to be the official national language of India. So a particular person from, I think, Uttar Pradesh, okay, named as R.V. Thulekar, he said that Hindi should be the language of constitution making. Okay, at the beginning of the constitution making, while Constituent Assembly sat for the, in its first days, early days, this person, Thulekar, said that Hindi should be the language that is used for making constitution. But he was told that not everybody in the Constituent Assembly understood Hindi. This is a fact. Because there are people from Tamil Nadu, from Kerala, from Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Mizoram, etc. etc. right? From all parts of India, people are there. Not everybody understands Hindi. So the people told the Thulekar that not everybody knows Hindi. So we cannot proceed with Hindi as the language of making constitution. Thulekar immediately replied that people who are present in this house to fashion a constitution for India and do not know Hindustani are not worthy to be members of this assembly. They better leave. This is what Thulekar replied. Just look at that. He is not, it is not a peaceful statement. He is actually confronting the other people. He is alienating a huge section of Constituent Assembly. Just because a group of people do not follow a particular language doesn't mean that they are Indians. They are not Indians. Okay, that is true, right? We are all Indians. Unfortunately, we do not know certain languages, each other. So, if a group of people can claim that these sections of society do not know Hindi, then the other section can claim that this section do not know, say, Tamil, or this section do not know Malayalam. That is also an equally relevant claim. So, unfortunately, R.V. Thulekar was very much, he did not perform himself as a peaceful person. He always made an argument out of it, whatever he got. We will see that in the future also. There were many instances when R.V. Thulekar's comment caused lots of commotion in the government. Okay, in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so basically his comment caused a lot of commotion and everybody was angry. Lots of people criticized him, and finally Jawaharlal Nehru has to intervene. Okay, sections were criticizing each other. Those who were in support of Hindi one side, those who wanted some it to be left out in the other side. Finally, the central figure Jawaharlal Nehru himself has to intervene in between to stop this fighting. Okay, and you have to understand that although for the time being Nehru was able to stop this infighting, whenever this subject was taken up in the Constituent Assembly, it ended up in some kind of commotion. Okay, this subject was taken up multiple times in the next 3 years, but every time it was taken up, it met with some sort of commotion. Finally, in September 12, 1947, that is about 3 years from the first incident. Okay, 3 years since the first incident, Thulekar's speech on the language of nation once again sparked off a huge storm. Again, Thulekar come up with some new, thoughts which provoked others. Alright, so in between something happened. In between, Constituent Assembly set up this language committee. Okay, language committee. The duty of the language committee was to decide on about the language that should be followed, which language should be the official language, which language should be the national language, etc. etc. This was the duty of language committee. So language committee decided, not formally declared, okay, not yet formally declared, but they decided that Hindi in Devanagari script would be the official language of India. Okay, but the transition to Hindi would be gradual. Clear? Hindi is not the national language, but it will be the official language. Official proceedings can be conducted in Hindi, but it will not be solely in Hindi. It will be, gradually made into Hindi in 15 years of time. Clear? It will be a very gradual evolution. So everybody can, take their time and learn Hindi and, it will be fine by that time. 15 years were given. So for the first 15 years, English would continue to be used for all official purposes because English was known to everybody thanks to British. Okay, this is one good thing that British did. I mean, they made English very popular wherever they went. So everybody knew English. So it was a common language for all. Okay, so for the time being, let English continue. After 15 years, we will make Hindi compulsory. But until then, let English continue. This was the idea. Each province was to be allowed to choose one of the regional languages for official work within the province. So English will continue as the official language at the central level. In the regional level, in the state level, each state can choose its own choice of language to perform their official business. For example, Tamil Nadu can choose Tamil, Kerala can choose Malayalam, Andhra Pradesh can choose Telugu. It's up to them. Okay, so this was the idea of language committee, a very peaceful resolution, a very middle path. Okay, they did not want to create any further commotion in the assembly, but Dhulekar came to cause more trouble. Okay, so Dhulekar wanted Hindi to be declared not just as an official language but as national language. Okay, and he said this in a tone that did not favor anybody. Okay, he put this out in very drastic fashion that it created a huge pandemonium in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, and finally, the President of the Assembly himself has to interrupt Dhulekar, saying that I do not think you are advancing your case by speaking like this. Plenty of times we see that if you haven't seen if you haven't read the Constituent Assembly debates, please go through that. It is available, I think, online. You can download it and read it. There are plenty of instances when the presiding officer has to stop Dhulekar, reminding him that this won't bring any kind of support for you. Okay, because that was the tone in which he was speaking. Alright, I think if many of you have, hello Seema, I think most of you have seen this series, okay, called Samvidhan. How many of you have seen this? Samvidhan? Has anybody seen this 10-part series? Has any of you seen this? Samvidhan is actually a 10-part mini series that is in Rajya Sabha television. Okay, Rajya Sabha television came up with this program. 10 episodes are there, mini series, Samvidhan. It is an excellent series regarding the constitution, how the constitution was framed in India. If you have not seen it, go back and see it. It will be very useful. Very beautiful series, available free online. You can watch it in YouTube itself. Okay, Rajya Sabha television, Samvidhan. Okay, moving on. Beautiful series. Yeah, make sure to see it. You can Google, search it in YouTube. The fear of domination. So, when Dhulekar spoke like this, like very much atrocious, I mean very much in a very bad tone, some other sections of the Constituent Assembly was not pleased with this. For example, Srimati G. Durgabai from Madras. She expressed her own worries. Okay, I mean Durgabai informed the House that opposition in the South against Hindi was very strong. Okay, earlier, back in 1930s, while she was working as a part of Indian National Congress, she accepted that Hindustani as the language of people. But now that language was being changed. Words from Urdu and other regional languages were being taken away. Okay, and this is actually eroding the inclusive and composite character of Hindustani. So, based on Mahatma Gandhi's recommendations, based on earlier stance of Indian National Congress, even Durgabai, okay, Srimati G. Durgabai, tried her level best to popularize Hindustani in South Indian states, including Tamil Nadu, Madras, the Madras province. Okay, but now, instead of Hindustani, Hindi is being put forward as the national language. So she said that after all those efforts, now if we are going to rip apart Hindustani and put some other new language in the national front, the people in the South will not take this easily. It is a fact. I mean, suddenly you are destroying a whole new language and bringing in something very new. And now we are all asked to study a new language. Otherwise, we cannot be a part of the Indian government or whatever. Okay, so this will obviously come up with some kind of commotion in the South. This was expressed by Durgabai, Srimati Ji Durgabai in the Constituent Assembly. Similarly, another congressman, Sri Shankara Rao Dio, he stated that as a congressman and a follower of Mahatma Gandhi, he accepted that Hindustani as a language of nation. But, okay, he said that he accepts this because he's a congressman and he's a supporter of Mahatma Gandhi. Hindustani can be a national language. But if you try to impose Hindi, a different language altogether now, he will not be a part of it. Okay, he will not stand together with it, because overnight you cannot change a language and expect a huge number of people to study that language all of a sudden. That is inconceivable. So that was the argument of Sri Shankara Rao Dio. Another person, T.A. Ramalingam Chettiar, another person from Madras, he emphasized that whatever was done had to be done with caution. The cause of Hindi would not be helped if it was pushed too aggressively. The fears of people, even if they were unjustified, has to be allayed. Also correct. Very valid argument. Okay, I mean, if you want to push forward Hindi, fine, you can do that. But you cannot do it aggressively. You have to make this gradual. Okay, say in 20 years, if Hindi will become the national language, maybe by that time, people will adjust with it. But you cannot all of a sudden, on a fine day morning, say that Hindi is a national language. People will not accept this. Okay, he also added, look at the last statement. The fears of the people, even if they are unjustified, has to be allayed. This is very important. Okay, even if the fears of the people are unjustified, which means even if it has no real basis, still it is a fear. Okay, and that has to be taken care of. It does not has to be rational, or it does not has to be justifiable or anything. But a large section of India is not happy with this, and that has to be carefully studied and taken care of. Very valid, very reasonable argument there by T.A. Ramalingam Chettiar. So because of all these facts, finally, it was decided that Hindi will become the official language, and English also will continue, and India will not have a national language as such. Okay, and now very recently, last year, the same topic came up for debate again, and we saw what happened. Okay, so please follow this, just understand what are the developments in this area, very, very important. The fear of domination. Constitution of India thus emerged through a process of intense debate and discussion, give and takes, forging middle ground, etc., etc. Okay, there were many compromises. Some people agreed to something else. In return, certain other people agreed to something different. Okay, so there were many give and takes. Mostly, there were all of them tried to find a middle ground, a peaceful path. Okay, that is how Constitution of India finally emerged. But in certain areas, there was no debate, or there was no commotion. Everybody was, 100% in consensus in certain aspects. For example, granting of the vote to every adult citizen. Everybody, irrespective of party, irrespective of religion, irrespective of regionalism, everybody agreed to this. 100% consensus. Okay, every adult Indian member every adult Indian citizen should have the right to vote. No discrimination. Okay, earlier, remember, this is another very important thing in India. In other democracies such as America and all, when they framed their constitution, when they got independence, what did they do? They did not immediately grant the right to vote to all sections. Okay, still they kept slaves. Slavery was very much there in America. They did not get the right to vote until a very late time. Women were not allowed to vote in these countries such as America, Britain, etc. Women were given the right to vote only a century after they got independence. But in India, this is a very unique feature. The moment India got independence, the moment India framed the Constitution of India, all Indian adults got the right to vote. This is a unique feature for Indian setup, Indian system of government. Fine. Moving on. Emphasis on secularism. Another important point where everybody agreed. Okay, you have to understand that there is no ringing pronouncement of secularism in the preamble. Okay, we do not see that word secular in preamble in that time. Okay, when the original constitution was made, in that preamble, the word secularism is not there. It was added later in the 42nd Amendment in 1976. Okay, in the original text, it is not there. In the preamble. So, although the word secular was not added, still in the operationality, some key features were understood in Indian context. For example, freedom of religion, that is in Article 25 and 28. Similarly, cultural and educational rights as per Article 29 and Article 30. Right to equality, Article 14 through 17. Okay, these articles directly or indirectly ensured secularism. That is also the reason why the nationalist leaders did not see the need to add that particular word in preamble, because even if the word is not there, still Indian constitution is very much secular in its character. Correct, right? Anybody is free to propagate and profess and propagate his religion. Nobody will, nobody can actually stop that. State will not interfere in that. Okay, so that is a positive feature, India becoming a secular country. Fine. All religions were guaranteed equal treatment by the state. Another very important point. These kinds of questions are asked by UPSC these days. Okay, according to the Indian notion or Indian system of secularism, all religions are guaranteed equal treatment by the state. There is another form of secularism where state is opposed to religion. Okay, there is no religion. Okay, the state is anti-religious. That is also secularism. But Indian form of secularism is positive, which means what? Every religion is equally treated by the state. It is not like state is anti-religious. Clear? So that is a unique feature for Indian constitution. Let me see how many slides are remaining. 1 second. It is almost 5:30. Okay, we are in the last slide. Okay, we are in the last slide. Very good. Okay, so the final slide of the day. In the Indian variant of political secularism, then there has been no absolute separation of state from religion, but a kind of judicious distance between the two. Another very important point. Okay, in the Indian system, there is no clear-cut separation, or there is no absolute separation between state and religion. State and religion has something to do with each other even now, but there is a judicial isolation or judicial distance between these two. Okay, state will treat all religions equally. Fine, that is what it said. In the Indian constitution, it does not say that state is anti-religious. It says that the states will treat all religions equally. You have to understand this philosophy, because UPSC has started asking these kinds of philosophical questions in the prelims over the past 2-3 years. You can look at the question papers. Most of the questions are in this tone. They are not asking for articles or any in-depth things. They are asking about the basic philosophy of Indian constitution. Many questions were in the polity area came from this. Okay, please do look into it. Constituent Assembly debates tell us about the ideals that were invoked and the principles that the makers of constitution operated with. But in reading these debates, we need to be aware that the ideals invoked were often reworked according to what seemed appropriate within the context. Okay, so basically, Constituent Assembly debates tells us what was the thought process of nationalist leaders. It helps us to understand the perspective and understand what they were expecting out of the constitution. Remember, even right now in modern India, in the matters of judiciary, Constituent Assembly debates are heavily studied by advocates, judges, etc., etc. Why? Because although the constitution, the document is there, still the thought process, the mentality, etc., etc., that went into making such a constitution is highly relevant. Okay, if you can understand that thought process, then you can understand the constitution for what it is. Correct, right? Once you clearly see what the nationalist leaders were looking for, then you can understand the constitution. You can see why it is written so in the constitution. That is why Constituent Assembly debates are heavily studied by advocates, judges, etc., etc., to preserve and protect Indian constitution. Supreme Court is the guardian of Indian constitution. Okay, so Constituent Assembly debates are very, very important. So that is it. We have come to the end of this session, guys. Now we are going to start the quiz. But once again, let me just ask you to, if possible, if you have time, this is not compulsory or anything. If you have time, please go back and try to watch the episodes of Samvidhan. Okay, once more I will write down Samvidhan, which is actually available in YouTube in Rajya Sabha television. It is a 10-part series, okay, 10-part mini series. It beautifully explains about how the making of constitution. Everything that I have so far mentioned in this class, you can see the visualization of all these things if you watch the Samvidhan program. I have watched it myself, that is why I am telling you this. It is in Hindi, but okay, still in Hindi. But anyway, go back and watch it. So that is it. Suresh, good evening, welcome. Now we are going to the second section of this chapter. Okay, we have completed the NCERT history series. Okay, I thank you all for joining this. Today was the last class of NCERT history. I have started it from class 6 textbook onwards, and now I have completed the last chapter of class 12 NCERT history. So that is it. We have come to the end of this series. So tomorrow onwards, I am starting current affairs, and I am doing current affairs MCQs. Okay, every day 4 p.m. I will come up with some 40-50 questions, and we will study current affairs through MCQs. So please do join back tomorrow 4 p.m. So today's second session is actually quiz. That is, topic is Modern India, and this is how you can join the quiz. Download the Unacademy learning app. Click the plus tab, which is in the menu button at the top left corner. Click the test tab below the screen. Click the join quiz button. And when you are asked to enter a code, you can give this 686702. 2 people has already joined. I request others to join also. I will start the quiz in 2 minutes. Topic is Modern India. Okay, so I request all the learners who are in YouTube to shift from YouTube to Unacademy learning app, because only those people who participate in this quiz via the app will get the full detailed explanation of answers. Okay, I do not have a PDF, so I cannot upload it in the Telegram channel. It is provided in the app only. Okay, so also please subscribe to my Telegram channel, which is shown here, in order to get PDFs of my classes. So this PDF also I will upload in my Telegram channel, and my Telegram channel is t.me/MSRW1. Okay. All right. So 2 minutes. I will start the quiz. Thank you, Seema. Let me just set this up. So tomorrow onwards, there won't be this quiz, okay? I mean, even if there is this particular quiz, I will reduce the questions or something like that, because already I am taking a current affairs quiz in the session as such, okay? So the app quiz may not be there, or even if it is there, the number of questions will be less. All right. So yeah, almost time. I request all of you to join. 3 people has joined so far. It is Modern India quiz, 50 questions, 40 seconds each. Okay, only those participants who are participating using the Unacademy learning app will get the detailed explanation of answers, which will be provided in the app itself. Okay, I do not have a PDF of that, so I cannot upload it. Alright, so the theory session has been completed. Now let's start the quiz. So I'm going to start it, okay? It's already time. So I'm starting this. Okay. So I request all the learners who are watching using the YouTube platform to shift to your Unacademy learning app and participate in this quiz directly. How to participate? It is written in the PowerPoint presentation. The instructions, the steps are written in the PowerPoint presentation. First question. Which of the following was not associated with the tenure of Lord Lytton? Option A, First Factory Act. B, Vernacular Press Act. C, Arms Act. D, Assumption of the title of Kaisar-i-Hind of Queen Victoria. First question is on the board. Time is up. Most of you went for option D there, 67%. Anyway, all of you got that wrong. Moving on. Second question. Which of the following leaders of the revolt of 1857 are correctly matched with their locations? 1. Kunwar Singh, Ara. 2. Khan Bahadur, Bareilly. 3. Maulavi Ahmadullah, Faizabad. 4. Bhakt Khan, Delhi. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. I think this is an easy question. When I taught you this area earlier, I had informed you that such questions can be expected even for UPSC. So if you have studied it, you will know the answer. Very easy question. And the time is up. 4 people has joined the quiz. No, only 2 people answered it. Okay, sorry. Seema Shetty leading now. Third question. Which of the following can be held to be the correct reasons for the emergence of Indian nationalism towards the second half of 19th century? Number 1. French Revolution and emphasis on nationalism in Europe. 2. Imperialist policies of British in India. 3. The success of socio-religious reform movements of the early 19th century. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Dear learners, today's theory session is completed. Now we are in the second part of this session, that is app quiz. Okay, please do participate. The instructions, the step to participate in this quiz is given in the PowerPoint presentation. Jenny has joined. Question number 4. Consider the following statements regarding Government of India Act of 1935. Number 1. It extended communal representation by providing separate electorates to depressed classes, women and labor. 2. It provided for abolition of diarchy both at provinces and centre. 3. It divided the powers between centre and provincial units in terms of federal and provincial lists only. Which of the above given statements is or are correct? 1 second guys, let me just quickly replug this. Give me a second. Okay, Seema Shetty is still leading the quiz. Fifth question. Which of the following is or are the reasons for the failure of Cripps mission that was sent to India during World War II? Number 1. The offer of dominion status instead of complete independence. 2. Representation of states by nominees and not by elected representatives in Constituent Assembly. 3. Right to provinces to secede from India. 4. The demand for withdrawal of Quit India movement. Select the correct answer. Regarding Cripps mission, very important. Select the correct answer. Prabha is leading now. Sixth question is on the board. Consider the following statements with respect to revolt of 1857. Limited territorial and social base, lack of Hindu-Muslim coordination, lack of central leadership, reactionary policies of Dalhousie. Which of the above can be considered as causes regarding the failures of 1857 revolt? Select the correct answer. The theory section is completed for today. We are doing the quiz session, second part. So sixth question, 5 seconds remaining. Time's up. Alright. Okay, it is a divided answer. Majority going for option D there. Moving on. Question number 7. Consider the following statements. Number 1. W.C. Banerjee was the first Indian to become member of British Parliament. Satyendra Pratap Sinha was the first Indian to become a member of Viceroy's Council? G.V. Maulangar was the first Speaker of the Central Legislative Assembly. Choose the correct answer. Fairly simple question, right? W.C. Banerjee, Satyendra Pratap Sinha and G.V. Maulangar. Time's up. Alright, 3 people answered that. Srisandal Devi moving to the second place. 8th question is coming up. Which of the following events is the reason behind the choice of August 15th as the date for India's independence? We already know the date why January 26th was chosen as Republic Day. Now let's see why is August 15th chosen as Independence Day. Option A. The mutiny at Meerut in 1857 uprising. B. The passing of the resolution of Purna Swaraj by Indian National Congress. C. The surrender of Japanese in the Second World War. D. The beginning of Quit India movement. Why was August 15 chosen as the day for independence? Alright, many of you going for option B, Purna Swaraj? No. Srisandal Devi getting it correct, 249 points, leading the quiz. Prabha second, Seema third, Jenny fourth. 9th question. In the context of Indian history, the principle of diarchy refers to what? A. Division of the central legislature into 2 houses. B. Introduction of double government, that is, central and state governments. C. Having 2 sets of rulers, one in London and another in Delhi. D. Division of the subjects delegated to the provinces into 2 categories. Select the correct answer. Time is up. Okay, one more person has joined the quiz. Vishnu, welcome. Today's theory portions are completed. We are moving into the second part of the session, that is Unacademy app quiz. Topic is Modern India. You can join the quiz using the following instructions. 10th question. Consider the following statements about administrative situation in India before the enactment of Charter Act of 1833. 1. The Governor General was appointed by the Court of Directors of East India Company. The St. Helena Act temporarily abolished the offices of the Governor General and Viceroy to promote decentralization in India. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Kindly join this quiz and participate using the Unacademy Learning app. Only those participants who participate in the quiz using the app will get detailed explanation of answers in written form. Okay, it is provided in the app only. So please do join using the app. 11th question. Which of the following were the considerations recognized by Lord Ripon for the growth and development of local government in India, local self-government in India? Statement number 1, administrative efficiency. 2, political education. 3, democratic decentralization. 4, devolution of finances. Choose the correct answer. So what were the considerations recognized by Ripon for the growth of self-government in India? That is the question. I mean, local self-government in India. Easy question. Alright, so how many got that? Okay, we have a split there. Not okay. Many of you got that wrong. Srisandal Devi is still leading the quiz with 281 points. 12th question. With reference to Indian freedom struggle, consider the following events. Number 1, Jallianwala Bagh massacre. 2, Hunter report. 3, Rowlatt Act. What is the correct chronological sequence of the above events? Very simple question. Very simple question. Jallianwala Bagh Massacre, Hunter Report, Rowlett Act. Please arrange them chronologically. Okay, 60% going for option A there. Yep. Very good. 13th question. Which of the following political entities supported the Quit India movement? Number 1, Muslim League. 2, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. 3, Hindu Mahasabha. 4, Communist Party of India. 5, Princely States. So some of them actually were supportive of Quit India movement and some of them were not that much supportive of Quit India movement. So who all supported this movement? 10 seconds to go. Time is almost complete. Yeah, time's up. 60% going for option D there. Okay. Fourteenth question. Which of the following was the main objective of the Servants of India Society organized by Gopal Krishna Gokhale? Option A, to work against the social evils like caste system and for the upliftment of depressed classes. Option B, to train national missionaries for the service of India and to prepare a cadre for selfless workers. C, to promote education and empowerment of women of the country. D, to create a sense of religiousness among the masses and aid the socio-religious reform process. Choose the correct answer. Time is up. Alright, most of you went for option B there. Only 3% answered it. Don't think it is the correct answer. Alright. Question 15. The Arctic Home in the Vedas and the Gita Rahasya are the books written by dash. Very simple question. Arctic Home in the Vedas and Gita Rahasya are written by option A, Madan Mohan Malaviya. Option B, Mahatma Gandhi. Option C, Balagangadhar Tilak. Option D, Motilal Nehru. Very simple question. Arctic Home of Vedas and Gita Rahasya are the books written by who among the following? Dear learners who have joined this quiz via YouTube, kindly switch over to Unacademy learning app and participate in this quiz directly. Okay. The quiz questions, the instructions on how to participate is given in the PowerPoint presentation. So please read them and please come back in Unacademy learning app. Divya has joined. Question number 16. Arrange the following events in chronological order. Number 1, Chauri Chaura incident. Number 2, Mopla revolt. Number 3, Khilafat movement. Easy. Another easy question. Chauri Chaura, Mopla, Khilafat. From the options itself, you can eliminate very easily. 2 options are gone. And from the remaining, yeah, time is up. Yeah, most of you got it right, 83%. Question number 17. The plan of Sir Stafford Cripps envisaged that after the Second World War, option A, India should be granted complete independence. Option B, India should be partitioned into 2 before granting independence. C, India should be made a republic with the condition that she will join the Commonwealth. D, India should be given dominion status. Select the correct answer. So what was the plan of Sir Stafford Cripps? Basically, what is the Cripps mission proposals? That is the question. Very easy question. I think all of you will get this correct. Yes, time is up. Correct answer is option D. Let's see how many got that right. 83% got that right. Very good. Okay. Very good. Sri Sundari Devi and Vishnu crossing 500 mark there. Question 18. Satya Shodhak Samaj organized dash. Option A movement for upliftment of tribals in Bihar. B. A temple entry movement in Gujarat. C. Anti-caste movement in Maharashtra. D. A peasant movement in Punjab. So what is Satya Shodhak Samaj? Easy question. Satya Shodhak Samaj was actually organized by Jyotiba Phule. Okay, Jyotirao Phule. And just think where he is from and you have the answer there. Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule. Okay. Time is up. Correct answer is option C, anti-caste movement. How many got that? 83% again. Very good. So you guys have studied. Prabha now crossing 500 mark. Moving on to 19th question. Arrange the following events in chronological order. 1. Chauri Chaura incident. 2. Mapla revolt. 3. Khilafat movement. Choose the correct answer. Chauri Chaura, Mapla revolt, Khilafat movement. Arrange them in chronological fashion. Dear learners in YouTube, kindly watch this, kindly participate in this quiz using the Unacademy learning app. This is how you can participate. The instructions are given in the PowerPoint presentation. Please download the Unacademy learning app and join the quiz using the code 686702. Yeah, time is up for question number 19. All of you got it correct. Okay, option B is the correct answer. Everybody getting that correct. th question. With reference to the history of local self-government in India, consider the following statements. 1. Lord Lytton was the first viceroy to constitute local boards. 2. Local boards were discontinued after the Government of India Act of 1919. 3. After independence, the Community Development Program promoted people's participation in local development. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Regarding local self-government in India, consider the following statements. 20th question. There are 50 questions. We have reached 20 questions. 30 more to go. Still, if any of you would like to join, you can join. How to join? The steps are given in the slide. Please download Unacademy learning app. Click the test plus tab in the menu button. Then hit the test button underneath your screen. Click the join quiz button and enter the code 686702. 21st question. Consider the following statements with reference to the Constituent Assembly of India. 1. The Cabinet Mission Plan empowered the Constituent Assembly to abrogate or alter any law made by British Parliament in relation to India. 2. The representatives of the princely states supported and joined with Congress Assembly from the beginning. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Question number 21 is going on. Yeah, time is up. So, majority of you went for option C there, 50%. Alright, Vishnu is leading now. Sri Sundari Devi second place, Prabhaika third place. Jenny crossing 500 mark there. 22nd question. Consider the following statements with respect to Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. 1. It is generally associated with Lord Wellesley in India. 2. Under this policy, the British would adopt a policy of non-interference in the internal matters of allied state. Select the correct answer. Subsidiary alliance, very important. I think all of you know the answer to this already. 5 more seconds to go. Yeah, time is up. Most of you went for option C there, 67%. Very good. Twenty-third question. Consider the following statements with respect to Battle of Plassey. 1. The British won the battle due to the strength and focus of Clive had. 2. In this battle, the British defeated Siraj-ud-Dawla and established their grip over Bengal. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Regarding the Battle of Plassey, select the correct answer. Easy question. Time is up. Yeah, 43% going for option C there, B there. Abhijit has joined now. Alright, everybody is scoring really good marks today. 24th question. Consider the following statements with reference to Wood's dispatch of 1854. Okay, Wood's dispatch. 1. It laid great stress on the downward filtration theory principle for the spread of education. 2. It recommended English as the medium of instruction for higher studies and vernaculars at school levels. 3. It laid stress on female education and vocational education on teachers training and secular education. Choose the correct answer. Wood's dispatch, also known as the Magna Carta of Indian education, English education in India. Choose the correct answer. Prepared by Charles Wood, who was the president of the board of control at that time. Option A. Most of you went for option A, and most of you got that wrong. Okay, majority went going for the wrong option there. Question number 25. We are at 50% now. 25 more questions to go. So 25th question. The Gathar was a dash. Option A. Revolutionary Association of Indians with headquarters at San Francisco. Nationalist organization operating from Singapore. Militant organization with headquarters at Berlin. Communist movement for India's freedom with headquarters at Tashkent. What is Gathar? People who are participating in this quiz using the YouTube platform, kindly switch over to Unacademy channel, Unacademy app, and directly participate in this quiz. You can still join. The instructions on how to join is given in the PowerPoint presentation. Please read them. So Srisindhu Devi back at the top, crossing 1000 mark there. Seema Shetty also crossing 500. There's a lot of disturbance in sound. Is anybody else facing the same issue? Please let me know. Question 26. Consider the following associations, arrange the following associations in the chronological order of their years of formation. 1. Bombay Presidency Association. 2. Indian Association. 3. Madras Mahajan Sabha. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Okay. 26th question is going on. Hi Adarsh, if possible, please move to the Unacademy learning app, okay? So that you can also directly participate in this quiz. Those people who participate in the quiz using Unacademy learning app will get detailed answer key with explanations in the app itself. Okay, so kindly switch over to Unacademy learning app. Question 27. Dharma Sabha was established to counter reform movements led by dash. Option A, Brahma Samaj. Option B, Prarthana Samaj. Option C, Indian National Congress. Option D, Congress Socialist Party. So Dharma Sabha was established as a counter reform movement against whom? That is the question. Brahma Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, INC, CSP. Easy question. Time is up. Correct answer is option A. How many got that? 67% got that. Brahma Samaj is the correct answer. Alright, now we have 3 people who have a score greater than 1000. Srisindal Devi, Prabhaika and Vishnu. Very good. 28th question. The Prarthana Samaj was founded by dash. Option A, Atmaram Pandurang. B, Swami Sahajanand. C, Pandita Bhai Ranade. D, Veera Raghavacharya. Prarthana Samaj was founded by who among the following? Atmaram Panduranga, Swami Sahajanand, Pandita Bhai Ranade, Veera Raghavacharya. Easy question again regarding the Reformation movements in 19th century. Prarthana Samaj has been founded by Atmaram Pandurang. Okay, 100% getting that correct. Very good. Prabhaika taking the lead there. All of you got that right. Very good. 29th question. Consider the following statements regarding section 124A of IPC. 1. It was first drafted by Thomas Macaulay in 1870. 2. For the first time, it was invoked against Bal Gangadhar Tilak, editor of Bangabasi, for voicing against the Age of Consent Bill 1891. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Okay, 124A, section 124A IPC. Very important question, very relevant even today. Okay, section 124A IPC. 29th question, how many got that? 67% going for option C. Very good. Overall, a very good scorecard so far. 30th question. Consider the following statements regarding Brahma Sabha. 1. Its purpose was to purify Hinduism and to preach theism. 2. Tarachand Chakravarti was the first secretary of Brahma Sabha. 3. It was opposed to adultery. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Regarding Brahma Sabha, choose the correct answer. 15 seconds to go. My class notes, PDFs, lectures, links, etc. will be uploaded in the Telegram channel, and the Telegram link is shown here, t.me/msrw1. Okay, in order to unlock free contents in Unacademy, you can use my educator code, which is msrw1. There are plenty of free contents in Unacademy. You can unlock all of them using this code, msrw1. 31st question. Quit India movement was launched in response to dash. Another simple question. Okay, Quit India movement was launched in response to what? Option A, Cabinet Mission Plan. Option B, Cripps proposals. Option C, Simon Commission report. Option D, Wavell Plan. Just think about the year and you get the answer. That's all. Cabinet Mission proposals happened in 1946. Cripps Mission happened in 1942. Simon Commission 1927-28. Wavell Plan 1944. So, Quit India movement happened in 1942. So, the answer is option B, Cripps proposals. Okay, how many got that? 33%. Oh, that's not good. Alright. Srisindal Devi back at the top. 32nd question. Which of the following parties were established by B.R. Ambedkar? 1. Peasants and Workers Party of India. All India Scheduled Caste Federation. The Independent Labour Party. Choose the correct answer. Peasants and Workers Party of India. All India Scheduled Caste Federation. Independent Labour Party. Out of these, which were established by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? Easy question. Time is up. Option B is the correct answer. How many got that? Only one person got that. 17%. That is Srisindal Devi. Very good. Third question. Consider the following statements. 1. The most effective contribution made by Dadabhai Naoroji to the cause of Indian national movement was that he 1. Exposed the economic exploitation of India by British. 2. Interpreted the ancient Indian texts and restored the self-confidence of Indians. 3. Stressed the need for eradication of all social evils before anything else. Question number 33. Regarding the grand old man of India, Dadabhai Naoroji. Very famous book. Okay. Regarding economics. Yeah, it is a split option. 50% for A and 50% for D. Many got that wrong. Vishnu moving to the second place there. 34. Where and when did Mahatma Gandhi first use his method of hunger strike to achieve the desired goal? Option A. Natal in South Africa in the year 1906. B. Champaran in 1917. C. Ahmedabad in 1918. D. Cape Town in South Africa in 1906. Mahatma Gandhi used the method of hunger strike to achieve the desired goal for the first time in which of these instances? Time is up. Correct answer is Ahmedabad mill strike. Okay, 50% got that. Very good. Seema Shetty at the 4th place, Jenny 5th place. 35th question. Certain measures of Dalhousie created serious discontent in India, which was also responsible for the revolt of 1857. Which of the following measures was not one of them? Option A. Doctrine of lapse. Option B. Introduction of railways and telegraph. Option C. Abolition of titles and pensions of several rulers. Option D. Educational reforms. Easy question. 15 more questions to go after this. Okay. We are at the 35th question. Totally 50 questions are there. %, going for option A. Answer was option D. Okay. Question number 36. Identify the correct statements about the national flag of India. 1. Has a navy blue colored Ashoka Chakra with 32 spokes in the center. 2. The ratio of its width to length of the flag is 3:4. 3. The Flag Code of India 2002 puts a blanket prohibition on private organizations from displaying the flag. Select the correct answer. Okay, C is the preferred answer. Moving on. Srisindra Devi has crossed 1500 mark there. 37th question. In 1920, which of the following changed its name to Swarajya Sabha? Okay, in 1920, which of the following changed its name to Swarajya Sabha? A. All India Home Rule League. B. Hindu Mahasabha. C. South Indian Liberal Federation. D. Servants of India Society. Select the correct answer. 37th question happening. Let's see how many get this. Swarajya Sabha. Okay. Oh, it is a very split answer. I don't think anybody knew it for sure. I was so. Toppers got it right. Okay, Srisindra Devi, 1657 points. First place at the moment. Closely followed by Vishnu and Prabha. Question number 38. Consider the following statements. Anjuman-i Mahishan-i Watan was organized by Syed Ahmad Khan who also led the Aligarh movement. 2. Madam Bikaji Kama, a Parsi revolutionary, started a movement for the regeneration of social conditions of Parsis and restoration of the Zoroastrian religion, and the message was spread by the newspaper Rost Goftar, which was operated by Ajit Singh. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Alright, I think this is a fairly easy question. Anjumanai Mahishanai Savan by Syed Ahmad Khan. 75% of you going for option C there. Alright. 39. The immediate outcome of the infamous black hole tragedy in Indian history was dash. Option A, Battle of Panipat. Option B, Battle of Plassey. Option C, Battle of Buxar. Option D, Battle of Vandivash. Another easy question. Black hole tragedy, very famous, happening in Indian history. Battle of Panipat, Plassey, Buxar, Vandivash. So what is the immediate outcome of black hole tragedy? Black hole tragedy is associated with whom? Siraj-ud-Dawla. Okay, so the answer is option B, Battle of Plassey. Let's see how many got that. Oh, 20%. Fine. Okay. 40th question. With reference to Indian national movement, consider the following statements. 1. Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru formed the Swatantra Party in 1922. 2. Belgaum session of Indian National Congress is the only section that was presided over by Mahatma Gandhi. Choose the correct answer. Easy question, very easy question. Let's see how many get this. Very easy. 15 seconds remaining. Yeah, time is up. So correct answer, how many got option B? C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed the Swarajist Party, and Mahatma Gandhi's only INC session was indeed the Belgaum session, 1924. Okay. So not many got that right. Option B was the correct answer. Question number 41. Last 10 questions. Consider the following statements regarding Nayanar saints. 1. Nayanars are the saints devoted to Vishnu. 2. There were 12 Nayanar saints who belong to different caste backgrounds. Select the correct answer. I'm sorry, this is not from modern India, but somehow it got mixed up with the questions. Regarding Nayanars and Alvars, these are actually part of medieval India only. Okay, but anyway, try to answer it. 5 seconds remaining. Guys, one more important thing. Today 8 p.m. I have the quiz session in medieval India, as I have announced yesterday itself. That is on Unacademy platform. Okay, not like this, not in the app quiz, but in the platform as such. There is a quiz. Also from tomorrow onwards, I have completed the NCERT history series today. So that series is completed. So I am going to start with the current affairs MCQ series from tomorrow onwards at 4 p.m. in YouTube. So please be sure to join. Question 42. Communal electorates were introduced during the viceroyship of dash. Option A, Lord Ripon. Option B, Lord Mayo. Option C, Lord Minto. Option D, Lord Chelmsford. Communal electorates were introduced during the viceroyship of dash. Very easy question, very easy question. 1909 was the year. Time is up. The very infamous Minto-Morley reforms. Okay, so the answer is option B again. How many got that? Sorry, option C again. How many got that? 80%. Very good. All right. So there is a tight competition for first place there. Question number 43. Consider the following pairs with respect to storm centers and leaders of revolt of 1857. Bhakt Khan, Delhi. Nana Sahib, Maharashtra. Kunwar Singh, Bihar. Which of the pairs above is or are correctly matched? Another simple question. Bhakt Khan, Delhi. Nana Sahib Maharashtra, Kunwar Singh Bihar. Time is up. Yeah, time is up. Correct answer? Yeah, option D. All the toppers getting this. Vishnu moving on to 1800 there. Seema Shetty very close to 1000 mark. 44th question. Which of the following was or were the reasons for the failure of 1857 revolt? 1. Superior British Army. 2. The princes of modern educated Indians did not participate. Princes and modern educated Indians did not participate. 3. Lack of planning and coordination on the part of rebels. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Causes of the failure of revolt of 1857. Another direct question, simple question. I think all of you will get this. Yeah, time is up. Option D is the correct answer. How many got it? 83%. Very good. Seema Shetty making it to 1000 there. Very good. Vishnu very close to 2000. Battle of Plassey was fought between option A, East India Company forces headed by Robert Clive and Siraj-ud-Dowla by Nawab of Bengal. B, East India Company headed by Robert Clive and French Governor Dupleix. C, Marathas and Ahmad Shah Abdali. D, none of the above. Very simple question. Battle of Plassey. Okay. So among the options, one is Battle of Plassey, other one is Battle of Vandivash, and the last one is Battle of Panipat. Third Battle of Panipat. Okay. So be careful to identify which is what. Time is up. So correct answer is option A. I think all of you will get this. Yes, 100% got that correct answer. Very good. All of you got it. Vishnu crossing 2000 mark there. Jenny very close to 1000 now. Question number 46. With reference to Constituent Assembly, consider the following statements. 1. The Assembly was also made a legislative body by Indian Independence Act. 2. The drafting committee of the Constitution Assembly was chaired by Dr. B. R. Ambedkar. Choose the correct answer. So those who have attended my class today know the answer to this question. So let's see how many get this right. Guys, today the NCERT series has been completed earlier. So today is the quiz that is going on modern India. So from tomorrow onwards, my current affairs sessions will start. It will be based on MCQs. Okay, the entire NCERT series has been completed. I have covered NCERT history textbooks all the way from class 6 to class 12. Okay. So Vishnu leading now. Very good. 47th question. Last 3 questions coming up. With reference to Desai-Liaquat Pact, consider the following statements. 1. It recommended an equal number of persons nominated by Congress and League in the central legislature. 2. 20% reserved seats for minorities, especially the scheduled caste and the Sikhs, were to be provided in the interim government. 3. The government would function within the existing framework of Government of India Act of 1935. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Desai-Liaquat Pact, very important. Okay, you had to study about all these things that happened around between 1940 and 1945. Wavell Plan, Desai-Liaquat Pact, CR formula. Okay, all these are important. Quit India Movement, Cripps Mission. Okay, yeah. Moving on to 48th question. Consider the following statements. 1. The Constituent Assembly held its first meeting on December 9, 1946. 2. Constituent Assembly continued as a provisional Parliament of India from January 26, 1950 till the formation of a new Parliament. 3. Constituent Assembly could alter any law made by the British Parliament in relation to India. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? I talked to you about all these things in today's class. I hope you have listened to it. If you have, you will get the correct answer. %83% for option D there. Yep, correct. Very good. Abhijit and Jenny very close to 1000 mark. 49. Which of the following statements is not correct regarding Rajaram Mohan Roy and Brahma Samaj? Option A. Rajaram Mohan Roy accepted the concept of one god as propounded by Upanishads. B. In August 1828, Roy founded the Brahma Sabha, which was later renamed as Brahma Samaj. C. Brahma Samaj declared its opposition to idol worship and there was no place for the priesthood. D. In 1866, there was a split in Brahma Samaj when Keshav Chandra Sen tried to bring back elements of caste and customs and authority of scriptures into the Samaj. So choose the incorrect statement. Alright, time is up. Very split answer. Not many getting it. It's okay. Many of you did not even attempt it. Okay, fine. Alright, final question for the day. In the context of modern Indian history, consider the following about Azamgarh Proclamation. Okay, option A, Shippai Mutiny 1857, Swadeshi Movement, Rowlatt Satyagraha, Champaran Movement. So what is Azamgarh Proclamation associated with? That is the final question. Option A, Shippai Mutiny 1857, B, Swadeshi Movement, C, Rowlatt Satyagraha, D, Champaran Movement. Very simple question. I think at least 70% will get this right. 75% will get this right. Option A is the correct answer. Shippai Mutiny 1857. How many get this? Azamgarh Proclamation. 20%. Oh God. Alright. Only a very few got this right. Nobody. Okay. Fine. It's fine. Anyway, quiz has been completed, guys. Okay. So that is it. We have come to the end of this session. Today's winner is Vishnu with 2230 points in the first place. Second place goes to Sri Sindal Devi with 1999 points. Third place we have Prabha Ekka with 1477 points. We have Seema Shetty also doing extremely well, 1307 points. Abhijit and Jinni in 900s, very good. Divya joined very late and she managed 211 points. Congrats to all of you. So see you again at 8 p.m. today with the Medieval India quiz, but that is not like this. It is actually a session not conducted in the app. It's conducted in the Unacademy platform. So please do join at 8 p.m. And tomorrow I will start the current affairs quizzes. So tomorrow starting with month of January 2020. Okay. So tomorrow's MCQs will be based on the month of January 2020. So please use my code MSRW1 to get 10% discount on Unacademy subscriptions. Also, you can use the same code to unlock free stuffs in Unacademy. There are plenty of free stuffs in Unacademy. Please use the code MSRW1 to unlock all these things. You can subscribe to my Telegram channel t.me/MSRW1 to get class notes and PDFs of all my classes. Also the links. Okay, so that is it, guys. Thank you for joining. See you again at 8 p.m. Until then, bye-bye.